Hello?
Hi.
We're live! What's good, you guys?
It's funny, Shanice and I were just talking about some of the demons we have at work, and now I've got real, actual demons on the line.
Oh, no.
I hope that's a compliment. I hope that's a compliment.
Like, how do I speak with a demon? Like, how do I refer to a demon? And secondly, to your fans and your followers, are they like mini demons? Like, do you have a name?
Do we have a name for like the Baka Bros? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like SBC. No. But like, Hector, so no, you're repost and you have SBC, your community name. Do we have a name? Maybe we could get a chats.
Have a combined name of it.
Yeah. The Baka Gakas.
The Baka Gakas.
I love that.
Thank you guys for both of you guys coming out and just talking with us. This is something that you don't see anywhere else, and this is an amazing opportunity, I think, for both sides, the community and you guys, getting our insight to everything, So just want to say, before we start anything, just want to say I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, so how do you guys want to like go, boys? Do you guys want to start? Teddy, do you want to ask us anything, or do you want to we just steamroll this? However you guys want to do this.
Yeah, just for me, it's just a casual conversation. Like, I'd love to hear, what's important to you with Warzone. Like, of course, you guys have built your communities about not just around Warzone, but just Call of Duty in general. And just, we're here today just to have transparent conversations and to hear what you love, to hear where you want to see improvements, what you want more of. Just to have a conversation, really.
Yeah, I'll start kind of just like the gist of everything, because I kind of just want to talk about the current state of like Warzone and where it's at. Pretty much the state of Caldera right now. Let's take the elephant in the room right now. A lot of people aren't really a fan of Caldera, and they really do miss Verdansk, right? Yeah. So map rotations. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this because I already know it's not possible. But if you could explain why it's not possible for us to have both, let's say 4 hours of Caldera, 4 hours of Verdansk, and back and forth. I already know the answer, but I know a lot of people don't. So this is kind of the question for you to take over.
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I think I'll give the summary, because I think we did go into it in quite some detail. But really, the fundamentals are, it's a big technical hurdle. I think we've been very transparent with where Warzone is at. It's multiple engines, 3 games worth of content. When we launched with season 1, I think it was very clear that we were struggling somewhat in the technical department, just with that sheer amount. I mean, when you think of Warzone, 150 players, 200 weapons, countless operators. Like, I think we're at like 80 or 90, maybe even over 100. You think of all of that in like one giant sandbox, and it's just the fact that even like is real. Like, think about 10 years ago, the types of games we're playing, although I think some of you are a bit younger than me.
I was definitely a little young.
But, still the statement stands, right? It's like Warzone really is impressive when you think about exactly what it achieves and what it does. But that's not to say that it hasn't had some technical challenges. So where we are right now, we're really working on stability. And I hope you guys and the wider community are seeing that, every single update, we're working very hard on crash fixes, bug fixes, quality of life. And we don't want anything to distract from that focus. So when we sat down and had some technical discussions about package sizes, the file size of the game, which is already well over 100 gigabytes, and it's like, do we really just want to keep bloating that? Because if we do, there's going to be some players who just simply wouldn't be able to play the game or install it at all. So for us, that really took precedent, and it's like, we need to focus. And when you're talking about a game of Warzone scale, focus is key. So, of course, like 2.5, incredibly well focused, working with our partners at Beanox to deliver Rebirth Reinforced. As we look to season 3, we've got some great stuff in store. Again, like, it's just focus. Like, we're going to deliver season 3. And then in my role, I'm also focused on season 4. It's kind of like now and next. And like I say, long story short, we just really wanted to make sure that the game where it is now and the potential that Caldera has, so that myself, the map team, the game designers, we really, really are focused on making DR and by virtue of that, Caldera, getting it into a really good place. First of all, in season 3, I hope you guys I don't want to gas it up too much, because I'd rather under promise and over deliver, but we have some exciting stuff in store. And then as we go further into the in seasons like 3.5 and then 4 beyond that, I really hope you guys like what you see.
Okay, cool, man.
So one question I know Hector's right now asking about the current, state of Warzone, but something that's like, every time I get on, the first thing I always check is like the item shop. And I always like to buy stuff and stuff like that, and I think you guys are doing great in terms of cosmetics. I like the route you guys are taking. But one concern I have is I might see a really cool skin in the shop. I'm talking about like you know, maybe a Mac 10 build or something like that. But with the constant change in meta and the attachments you have to use, by the time I build my gun out the way I want to, none of the cosmetics that I bought I could use because they're only on for certain attachments. Do you guys have like any plans on like maybe making it universal where like assassinations you could use them on? Yeah. So with like assassinations you could use them on any of the Modern Warfare skins. Modern Warfare assassinations you could use them on any of the Modern Warfare skins. Would you have the same thing with blueprints where based off the blueprints it's not just per attachment, it's like you use them on the gun as a whole. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
So like
It does. No, I follow. I'm going to answer this in 3 ways, so I might not be completely succinct with like how I answer this, but just going back to how you opened, actually, that I can't quote you word for word, but you said something to the effect of like the changes that have been in the game recently really like feel like they're talking to you, like they're speaking to you, like the things that we're addressing are your highest and number one concerns. So I think first and foremost, what I'm really happy to hear about that feedback in particular is just like we play our game. Like not only we probably don't put the 10 hours a day in like you guys do, but you know, I'm in playtests all day long. I'm in design reviews. I'm in gameplay discussions, and then after work playing with my friends. Sometimes back home in England if the clocks are aligned, or with my colleagues here. Like we jump on, particularly on a Wednesday night. Tomorrow's our big gaming night. And I think like just where I'm going with this is as a player. Luckily I have a bit of an inside track to the store team, right? And funnily enough, I messaged them only last week. I'm like, guys, when is that anime truck skin coming back into rotation? Give me that pink anime truck skin. Like, I need it. And they're like, yeah, maybe we can do like, get it back into rotation. I'm like, no, I need it. Like, help. Like, I want to have this item, and I just can't get it. So I definitely, like, I think fundamentally I'm just gonna say, like, I relate to that. Like, there's some really cool stuff in the store. Just like you, whenever I log in, like I always have a quick look, see what's going on in there. Very recently, I bought the new Bren Mastercraft because Bren's my current, I think like a lot of people. But then separately, like where I really want to answer this is just regarding like the meta, the quality of in terms of their stats and their usefulness. So I'll be careful with my words because I know that the weapons team tend to listen to all of these interviews. They're probably listening right now. So shout out to the Raven representatives on online. But I think where we want to make sure is that every season has a clear meta. Like we don't want to over rotate because that's really hard to follow. I think to your point is like during season 1, we had a lot of incidental meta shifts. It wasn't deliberate. It's just when you add like 40 to 50 new weapons, there's going to be some that just with 10 attachments like each, plus within those 10 attachment slots, there's like up to 16 to 20 attachments. That's so many variations that it's just physically impossible for a designer to design for every single one of those permutations. So season 1 had more meta shifts than we would normally target. So then when we got to season 2, things were starting to stabilize, right? The weapons team were getting the game into a much sweeter spot. They've done a really good job all through season 2, going into season 2 Reloaded. But as we look to season 3, obviously working very closely with our partners at Sledgehammer, we really want to make sure that anything you buy, like any store bundle you buy, particularly on like the Mastercraft or the ones that you just look at and you're like, oh man, that appeals to me, like I want that you're not going to take it into the game and it just kicks like a donkey and you're just like, whoa, like, what is this? Like, this is unusable. So we're working very closely with our partners there. Again, like I think going forward across the seasons, you'll see continuous like improvements and inroads made there. Because like we want to make sure that if you buy something from the store, like you can have fun with it and you can feel personal and it can be the kind of weapon that you want to experiment with. Now, some players will ultimately make attachment changes, particularly when it comes to like the muzzle, whether they want to put a silencer on or not, like that's kind of player choice. The ones we want to be really careful with are the ones that physically change the cosmetic look of the item, right, for obvious reasons. So I hope that's like the kind of answer that you're after. And yeah, like I say, as we go into season 3, we've got some really interesting meta changes coming up. I think a lot of the community would think that they'd probably agree and say, they're overdue. So I think that'll put us in a really good place for answering this question, but through actions, not just with the words I give you today.
Yeah, appreciate that. Dave, if you want to take it.
Yeah, so I got a question about streamer mode. There's a few people that have it. I have it, but a lot of people in like the community, they don't have streamer mode and they think it's like kind of unfair that some people have it and other people don't. Do you like, how do you guys pick who has streamer mode and who doesn't?
Yeah, and look, I'll be honest with you. Like, I have very little involvement in the content creator side. Obviously, my focus is very much more on the seasons, the creative kind of a direction that the game is going in. But I think like working with Shanice and Robert and the team, we can definitely take this back, you know, to HQ and just work on, you know, how can we improve this program? How can we give more people access? I've been really happy with the response to the kind of streamer mode plus, which I think is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I love the results we've had. You know, I think we were quite transparent that we're rolling it out to a small group as a beta. Like, it wasn't meant to be like, oh, this is this exclusive club and you're either in it or you're not. It was really like, we made a ton of big changes. We wanted to get that feedback from a small group just to say, you know, is this working for you? We made some changes in season 2 Reloaded, where like we hide the countdown timer when the match is starting, just because we tried to like we role play, right? It's part of our role as game designers. And we were like, right, guys, let's pretend to be a stream sniper. Like, how would we snipe someone? And it's like, oh yeah, what would we look for? And it's like, we'd look for the countdown timer. We'd look for like the number of players in the server, like all these like little identifiers that someone could use to give really a content creator a tough time. And we don't want that. Like, we want to see content creators telling really interesting stories with their community and with their squad. And it's always really frustrating when you just feel like you're being targeted in an unfair manner. So yeah, I'll definitely take this one back to the group. But it's, you know, fundamentally, it's great to hear that you guys are seeing real results with the mode and the smaller scale beta test. And yeah, maybe there's an opportunity here that we can start to consider rolling it out to a wider content creator group.
Awesome. That's good to hear, because Lucky and I don't have it. Only Diaz has it. And Lucky and I get stream stuff out of our minds.
Yeah. Oh, to the DSS pool, like, I don't know, like 10K viewers sometimes.
It's not. No, I don't even think it was a viewership thing. I think it really was just taking it to a small group who could just give us feedback. And guys, like, always feel free to reach out. You know, if you think there's like more improvements we can make or any other changes, like, you know, we can't promise that they'll be done like with immediacy, but we have what we lovingly call the Misha tracker or the backlog, which is where we just stack rank all of the things that we want to work on as a group, and then we kind of prioritize those against everything else. So always happy, you know, to hear from you, and that extends to the wider community, right? Like, I'm always in Reddit. I read it at least twice a day, just kind of going through and seeing what people are talking about and what we can kind of do, and working with our player advocates group, which is like an internal team of various developers who have like tens of thousands of hours of Warzone game time. With our quality of life team, I had my group discussion with them today that was meant to last half an hour, but as always, it overruns considerably. I think we hit like 90 minutes or something like that yesterday as well. So yeah, like we always discuss these kind of things as a group, and I want to make sure that we give the community the kind of thing that they need.
Thank you for being so transparent about that.
Right.
So I kind of have a big question. I think it's the number one question that everybody's always like saying. Like I said, I'm gonna go back to pacing. And me personally, like, I know so many people have shifted their perspective. And it used to be everybody, Verdansk is amazing, Verdansk is awesome. Obviously, there was those people that complained, but in a nutshell, like, Verdansk was quite literally, my opinion, almost perfect. Like, there was a couple things that obviously needed addressing, right? But like, it was really good. Now everybody kind of switched to Rebirth, like a lot of the player base, because they say like Caldera's too slow paced. What things do you guys, I don't know if you're even allowed to say, do you guys have planned for pacing of the game? Just for example, some of the things that like I think could be drastically improve the pacing. You know, one of the big things that I remember you guys saying was the change in terrain, right? Like, you guys, we didn't like how a lot of people complained back in Verdansk. Like, it's like, oh, downtown, they're too high, buildings are too high, right? But the level of terrain hasn't really changed. So even though the buildings are 3 stories, everything's on top of huge mountains. So it's like if they're on downtown building. Does that make sense? If we got rid of peak, and let's say it's simple, something as simple as switching peak for capital, that map flow and the way the game plays out would be insanely different. Just because, like, I know Swag said this too, but it's like we have amazing POIs. We have so many like amazing places, but we never go to there. Everybody always lands peak, and then after that you're rotating in the mid, like with just bushes and dirt everywhere. So it's like more actual POIs in the middle is kind of what I think would help increase the the map flow. So I kind of just wanted to get your opinion on that, and if those are things that you guys want to do. Just because, in my opinion, I think peak is like the worst thing about Caldera, and it's not necessarily because it's peak, but because of its location in Caldera. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to answer this with transparency, but also with not spoiling any surprises.
Yeah.
So I will say just up front, we have some really interesting POI
Surprises,
updates for season 3 and season 4. A lot of them focused around player feedback. So again, I won't go into specifics, but just really good quality of life improvements, some great additions, and again, I hope that when players look at it and they see the patch notes and they see the kind of discussions, it's like, oh man, yeah, they're listening, they're playing the game, like they know what we want as players. But one of the things that I think is unspoken about when it comes to particularly the Battle Royale and the Caldera experience is really like, how does the gameplay set the map up for success? Yeah. So when you think about season 2 with the launch, where we worked with our partners at High Moon, I think the redeploy balloons showed a really great step in understanding some of the rotation and movement challenges that Caldera had or has, allowing players to get that verticality, get that high point that they need. Then we increased the mantle height. We did some really interesting stuff with the parachutes as well. Hopefully you guys agree. Like the parachutes
amazing.
Feel really nice now. So I think the way that I would summarize it is like, to get to where we want Caldera to be, we're going to be doing it in stages. I mean, we make a lot of step changes. You saw very recently, I believe just like a week or two ago, we changed Ghost. Right, that's a massive shift. Ghost had been the same it has since launch, like literally 2 years without any change. And when I sat down with the team and we really reflected on like where Caldera is now, we're taking systems that were built for modern warfare, over 2 years ago, for a completely different map. And then we can't expect them to just work. Like Caldera has a very different heartbeat, a very different identity. As you mentioned yourself, like there's a lot of vegetation, there's a lot of bushes, which gave players a lot of like hiding places, and you could argue cheap hiding places, right? It doesn't feel good when you can't see someone and they can see you and they're just camping in the bush with a baby monitor. Heartbeat sensor. But it's really important that when we look at the map, we also look at these gameplay tools and these gameplay toys, and we say like, okay, how can we tweak these? How can we improve them for this big map experience? And again, I think one of the things that we reflected on is there's nothing like winning a BR on Caldera, like that 1 in 50 chance of winning compared to like around 1 in 10 on Rebirth. Like when you get the dub in Caldera, like it's a moment. Like you just, it's like jump out of your seat. Oh my God. Like, especially, you guys are clearly of a different skill set to myself. But like for me, getting a win on Caldera is huge. And it's something like I can, even reflecting back to Verdansk, I can remember like all the different parts of the map where we had wins, like what we were doing, how we got there, the stories that kind of unfolded on the way. And then, when you think about that, what about kind of 30-minute Caldera experience with 150 players, it wasn't feeling good when you can be, say, 25 minutes in and you die in 0.2 seconds. And you just think, oh man, like I didn't get into it. I barely saw anyone, like whatever it might be. Like there's, you can have a really good game that's like best game ever, and it can immediately be followed by a game where you're just like, like I wish that went differently. It didn't feel like it ended well. And that was what prompted us to make the TTK change. Right? We felt that over time, there'd just been a natural acceleration in TTK that wasn't necessarily intended. It's just, again, when you're balancing this many weapons, just over time, it will get naturally quicker. So I'm really, really happy with that plus 50 health. It landed really well. I was particularly grateful that the community voted for it, because I really wanted to make that change. And we said, like, we're not going to do it unless the community give it their approval. Like genuinely, we put it behind like a variable in the back end, so like we could turn it on if players wanted it or not. That wasn't in the game unless players asked. So that was really cool. But yeah, like long story short, it's just that Caldera, it's so important that we get that into shape. And the only way we're going to do that is by making sure that the gameplay and the map itself are working together in like a cohesive way. And honestly, like I really like Peak, and I say this as a player, and the reason I like it is I love when you take Peak. Like I can't really think of an experience in Warzone to date where there is such a place that if you land there and you take it, and now you can parachute anywhere on the map, it's a feeling that I would struggle to replicate like in any other of the Warzone kind of modes or LTMs or maps that we've had to date. Now, it's not to say Peaks is perfect. Again, we're going to do some really cool stuff coming up. But you could argue, like, is Peak the problem, or is the easy access to Peak the problem? And those are the kind of questions that we're asking ourselves internally at the moment. Is like, how do we make the gameplay of Caldera fit the map of Caldera? Yeah. And again, like, I think season 3, you'll see the first real inroads into those kind of discussions.
Can I add something to that? Actually, like, just like actually, I like I said, I don't feel like it's necessarily the Peak that's the problem, or even the fact that you can go anywhere from Peak, because I think that's amazing. It's more of there's so like the edges of Peak are just, there's nothing there. So this is actually something that it's like, if you're even trying to get to Peak, it's just you're climbing uphill and you're gonna die. Like 90% of the time, there's somebody there. Like it's just open terrain.
On top of Peak, I mean, they just look down on you with like an AR, and you're stuck, like you're running up an open hill.
So I had like a solution to this, and I mean, let me know what you think.
Yeah,
and
please.
I think it's, have you guys thought of portable what's it called, redeploy balloons? So for example, like a jump pad in, I don't know if I'm allowed to say other games in here, but a jump pad in other games, right? Like where you can buy, or it's like, it's a rare equipment, but it's, you can deploy a redeploy balloon anywhere on the map, and that'll pick up the pace significantly. You either get it off a chest and it's very rare, or you can buy it off the shop. So it's like a jump pad. So it's a redeploy balloon, but that would drastically increase the pace of the game. So that way you can pretty much do what in essence Peak does by being able to go anywhere in the map, but you don't need this huge like 10-story terrain. Does that make sense? That you could have like going anywhere you want. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I think it would play heavily in this game's favor just because there's so much running as instead of what's it called? Instead of Verdansk.
I'm not gonna say much more, but it's a great idea.
Okay.
I had a question in regards to even after the World Series of Warzone and everyone else hosting tournaments after that. I think Warzone tournaments have been like a big part in everyone's community when you're running them. I feel like we're missing a big part of it to like you mentioned before, like to tell the story, especially when players are competing. And I think like integrating like a spectator mode, like a free cam, to be a little bit easier for the podcasters to really watch the game, kind of like how CDL has it.
Yeah.
And it kind of also ties into, if possible, it kind of ties in the same thing, but like also having, there's been other game titles that have built their own community, similar how Call of Duty built Rebirth and how its own community right now, where we have custom games and players could build out their own custom games and share out, you know, what they built or whatever it may be. So do you guys have any plans with like a custom games and a spectator mode?
Again, great question. I don't know of any plans. Again, I think it's like, I have a bit of a blind spot just in terms of like the esports side. Like I work with the CDL team, obviously today with our Resurgence playlist going live, but I focus very much on like the creative. But again, like I think I can take this, you know, to Shanice and Robert, and we can just have that discussion about, you know, do we have any plans here? And if we do, are these something that we can talk about publicly?
Gotcha. Thanks.
But none that I know of at this moment in time. But of course, we all watch it, right? Like when you're watching these tournaments, like they're just that vibe and that feeling you get from it. We want those stories to be told.
Yeah, because like we just recently put on the Rebirth tournaments. We put on multiple tournaments, but I think the biggest feedback we hear from the spectator side of things, of course, you know, like the competitors always talk about, oh, you know, a ban and protect system, so we don't have to worry about players using what they're not supposed to, whatever. But from a spectator side, people are always like, I would like to see like the X-ray, you know, being able to see where players are, an overview of the map to see where players are rotating to, because it not only, you know, is easier to watch, but also could improve like some players by just watching competitors compete. So
I had a question about like the performance of like the game right now. The servers, like I had a game earlier where I was in the game and it was just like super laggy. It's like really delayed. Like I don't know how to explain it. Do you guys know about like the type of server issues?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, I can chat to the tech team and the live ops team and just ask, like, you know, was there anything funky going on in the servers tonight? Or from time to time, like we will have issues, right? It's a live service with multi millions of people playing every day. But yeah, I can certainly ask and just get some insight into that. And obviously, like, always feel free to kind of flag it. Like, again, we read the Reddits, we read the Twitters. I will say, if anyone puts on Reddit, like, if you have an issue, please do say like what platform, what kind of device, because it's really helpful when people do kind of add that information, because we do read it. Like, I really mean it. Like, we go through, we actually have like in one of our internal chat channels, like, we have like a live issues where it's very much driven by the team. Like, it's people who have seen something, whether they've seen it on social media or in a news article or just from a content creator kind of talking about it, and it makes its way through to the team. And it's super helpful when people like yourself do call out like, oh, okay, that there was an imperfection there, or something that can be improved. Because yeah, ultimately, like, you guys are our players and you're our community, and we want to make sure we deliver to your expectations.
Is there plans? I know, like, there was hints, right? But is there plans on increasing the player count? Because if I'm correct, right, the size of Caldera is a lot bigger. Like, I think it's like 20% bigger, right? Than Verdansk or something like that. Like, is there plans to increase the player count to make it feel more fast-paced and alive?
When we did the 200-person battle royale, Warzone was in a different part of its life cycle, right? When you think it was only the modern warfare weapons, only the modern warfare operators, only the modern warfare vehicles. And now when you think about where Warzone is, 3 games worth of content, 3 games worth of operators, 3 games worth of weapons, plus all the new public events, plus the vehicles, plus the planes. Like, it's a ton of content to try and optimize for. So no current plans to increase the player count, but definitely, and I hope you guys kind of enjoyed it, was when you look at things like April Fools, those are the kind of things where we want to just surprise you. And it was awesome. Like, I remember with our live ops team and like our playlist management team being up at midnight on April Fools, the night before, obviously the 31st, and just watching like one by one all the content creators kind of going live, and then jumping out of the plane and being like, wait, what? And then discovering like the rocket launcher like would launch them into the sky, and they're like, wait, what? And then, like, I think at the same time, like, there was like different content creators in Rebirth, and they're kind of discovering like, wait, I've got a specialist all the time. Wait, why is there a loadout happening every circle? And like, there was, you know, that great image of like 50 loadouts all stacked on top of each other. Those are the kind of things where we really want to make sure that when we plan our playlists, that we have those things that can just surprise you and just be like, oh man, I wasn't expecting that. Because we're going back to like one of your earlier questions, really, like, you guys have optimized Warzone. Like, you drop in, you get your loadie, you get a gas mask, you get a self-revive, maybe get a couple of UAVs on the go to get the advanced. And then after that, like, you're now kill chasing, right? You're trying to be demons, self-proclaimed demons. And how can we as developers, almost like Hunger Games, you know, like, you've got the games masters and you've got the players, like, how can we as the games masters keep you on your toes and keep you telling these really interesting stories, catch you by surprise sometimes, give you the unexpected? And I really want you to know that, like, going forward, we want to do a lot more of those kind of things where we just catch you by surprise and give you the unexpected, because ultimately that's the kind of thing that just watching April Fools and just seeing like the smiles on people's faces, the laughter, the fun, it was really nice to kind of see that fun element like coming through with great like general sentiment.
Love it. My next question was, it's something that, like, you know, as somebody who plays, I think more often you play, the more frequently it happens, but it has to do with the anti-cheat. So I know there's been an anti-cheat implemented in Warzone, and we've definitely have seen a really good amount of bans. I think there was like 50,000, 80,000. There's been big, large pools of bans. However, I think with just as many bans are done, either new cheats are coming out and there's more resurfacing cheaters. And, you know, this is something I have to deal with like every day, running to a cheater. Is there plans to keep evolving the anti-cheat? Because it seems like as we have the anti-cheat out, the cheaters have already evolved, and now we're like, it's almost like we're going back to, you know, before we even had it, because the hacks are, you know, coming out and evolving again. So do you have any plans with the anti-cheat to come out and be more efficient?
Are you familiar with Voldemort from Harry Potter?
Yes.
He who shall not be named. Our Ricochet team are ninjas in the night. And we deliberately don't like to talk about it because it's something that we don't want to publicize. Again, it goes back to like under promise, over deliver. So what I will say is just yes, like that team is just amazing to work with and they're fantastic partners, but they work in the night when no one is looking, and we need to keep it that way.
Okay.
He who shall not be named.
I love it.
I had one for, like, I go for a lot of kills, right? Like, I played a game for kills. I don't really go for wins, right?
What's your current PR?
Let me think. On this map,
56.
53, 54, 50.
He's got the highest PR.
Him. He's the best. He's the best player in all of Call of Duty. He's literally the best.
Hackers combined.
Yeah, I'm the highest out of these guys. But I had one. So whenever you get someone like really weak, one shot, right, and they're like in the storm or something, sometimes they go down to the storm, right, and it doesn't count as your kill. So I'm just thinking, like, I feel like it should. You know, you guys could maybe like,
yeah, that's fair.
if someone's like one shot and they like break their legs or something, like, I feel like it should count as your kill.
I think that's great feedback. And here's the question: if we change that to be more rewarding, does it mean that all world records have to start from scratch? Like, would that be effectively like a reset in the kill chasing meta and PRs, do you think?
Nah.
I don't think it would. I think
No shot.
The answer is nah. Yeah, honestly, I'll take that to the team. I think it's a cool idea. Like, ultimately, we want players who feel like they got the kill to be rewarded. Again, I can't make any promises, but I think it's great feedback and something we can. It would certainly increase my number of kills, so I'm not going to be anywhere against getting. I might get into double figures more often. But yeah, and I think again, like, we're always trying to balance, like, the success of just Call of Duty as a brand has always been that it's an approachable, very like casual, friendly, anyone can pick it up and play. That's why it's got the hundreds of millions of players that it has. So we're always trying to balance and make sure that it's not just a game for kill chasers, and it's not just a game for casuals, and it's a game for everyone. And that's why when you see the patch notes, I hope you guys notice, but there's always like different player motivations in the patch notes, right? There's things that we're kind of saying, if we did this, it will help the more casual player. If we do this, it will help the more, like, the content creators. If we do this, it will help kill chasers or snipers or whatever the gameplay motivation might be. So I'm happy to say that to the team and see if we can do something there.
Okay, I'm going to talk about, obviously, a lot for me, a lot of the questions that I'm asking are just like pacing, right, of the game. And we talked a lot about it. But because the map is so open, right, and there's so much running, there's so much out in the open, I feel like the increase in snipers has, like, it's been insane how many people have snipers in this map. Like, ridiculous compared to like Verdansk, right? So have you guys thought of potentially, this is one of the things of decreasing headshot damage for snipers, because obviously nobody likes being on a PR pace, or even just like let's say you, right, being on, like, you're about to get your 10th kill, like you're about to hit double digits, and then getting one shotted to the head, right? Like, no one likes that.
For sure.
So, like, have you guys thought of something along the lines of, let's say, all marksman rifles, or like, so let's say the what's it called, Car 98 or the Swiss, all those being not like one shot to the heads, but more like, if people want to snipe, amazing, keep sniping, but those one shot headshots will be for like the heavy guns, the heavy ones that are like, so we're talking about the Barrett 50, we're talking about the what's AX50, AX30, those like that. So I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I would love to have this conversation when we get closer to season 3, because again, I don't want to gas it up, and my DMs are lighting up from the team because the weapons team are listening. And we do plan a meta shift for the snipers for season 3. Like, I'm happy to say that. I think we would all agree it's long overdue. The sniper meta hasn't changed in what feels like forever. So I feel really good about where we're going with that. And then in season 3, just in general, just regarding your comment about like general pacing, general, let's say, second chance opportunities, that's really high on our list. In fact, like when I spoke with the game designers only like 3 or 4 weeks ago, when we're really talking about what we want season 3 to be like and how we want the pacing and the heartbeat of that season to play, those kind of things were right at the top of what we want to address. So yeah, let's I just, like, again, I hate to not be as transparent, but I hope you understand it's like, just because I want to surprise you all when you get to see it. And you never know, like with game development, things change. Like, we may get closer to the date, we move some stuff around. But season 3, like holistically, including season 3, like 3 Reloaded, as we get further into the actual in season itself, there's some really interesting stuff coming. And I hope when you guys see it, you reflect back to this discussion, you're like, oh man, like, yeah, like he was talking about this kind of stuff at a high level, and that you like the direction that it's going in.
Teddy told us. He told us. I had a question in regards to you guys released Iron Trials for both Rebirth and Caldera, and I think everyone had positive, maybe a couple tweaks here and there, but everyone loved the game mode, and it was an LTM, so it went away and stuff like that. Do you guys have plans on eventually releasing modes similar to that could be labeled as a ranked mode for Warzone, and on top of that, it having an award system? Because I was playing Iron Trials and I loved it, but after a while, it would just like, I got a calling card that's cool, but I think having like, maybe a leaderboard for, either the wins or the kills specifically for that ranked mode, and even like the top 100 players. I know there's other titles in the BR scene that like, if you make it to top 500, you get maybe a parachute cosmetic. So people could see that you made it last season to top 500 and you were top 500 player. Something like that, where it's a ranked mode alongside rewards to reward the players who are performing, because it's going to give players, I guess, something to grind for every season.
Yeah. Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
Lucky. So I agree 100%. That's actually something that I had written down, is like exclusive rewards for achievements, right? Because at the end of the day, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, no, like nowadays people don't really care for like prestiges anymore. Like, that's not really like, oh, look at my prestige. Like, nobody really, but if you like, just even not even ranked and just regular game modes, like if you get, let's say, I know this is ridiculous, right, but 100,000 kills in the game, you get rewarded with this camo, and somebody sees you with this camo, it's like, yo, that guy is like insane. Or 500 wins on Caldera, whatever, Verdance, like that's a sick outfit, whatever. Like, so little things like this, there's incentives that you have for getting certain achievements. And I know that, like, obviously, like that might not be the best for business, right? But as far as like, it gives people something to grind for, and it's like let's say like Damascus or right, atomic camo, but it's like that, but to a more like a different level, right? So it's like 1,000 kills or whatever it may be, 1,000 wins, like you get this sick glider, you get this sick like player skin. These are all things that like I think a lot of people would love. So I just wanted to add to what Lucky said.
It's a great question. Did you guys play both Iron Trials 84 and Iron Trials on Rebirth?
Yeah.
I remember waking up and that was the first thing I did, and I was playing with Swag. We were just playing all morning. I loved it.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe just a bit of background on that. One of our game designers and one of our engineers, it kind of came about as a bit of a labor of love. I remember they just grabbed me one day and was like, hey, we got this mode, I think it was called like Double Down at the time, and it was like just playing around with a higher TTK to kind of appeal to a player who's of a higher skill gap. And like when we sat down and we play tested it and really refined it into like this Iron Trials experience, I think we all hoped it would be well received, but then when you never really know until it gets into players' hands, and the types of plays that we saw people doing, the way they were using like the tools and the gameplay elements. Remember, we took out a lot of kind of the cheaper kills stuff. So like we removed helicopters, we removed like stopping power rounds, we nerfed like stuns and stuff like that, and really just wanted to create like the pseudo tournament like experience. And I'm really proud of that team and like what they delivered, because it was really, like I say, just a labor of love in building and crafting that experience, and then for it to go out and to hit that like audience so well and so perfectly of that higher skill group. Again, like we've been pretty open and transparent that we don't have any immediate plans for ranked in Warzone in the coming seasons, but it remains really high up our priority list as we look to the future as to like how we want to build. And it goes back to some of your esports questions, right? Like how do you build a ranked mode for Warzone that can then benefit and lead into tournaments and esports and rewards? Because ultimately you want to see that peacocking of people who have been there, they've got to the highest reward tier, and you see them in game and you're like, oh shit, that guy is going to be, incredible, or like yeah, right, like you guys will get there. I probably wouldn't be as high up as you, I'm sure, but look, I think Iron Trials, we want to bring it back. We'll definitely be having those kind of discussions with you guys as we look to the future. And then, rank mode, like that's going to be an ongoing topic that we expect to have conversations with our community about in the future, because like fundamentally, I want to play rank mode, and I know the team does as well, right? So it's always a lot easier when we as devs want those same experiences that people are asking us for.
I think one thing that like another game does really good is like apart from rank play is like certain individual events that are integrated into the game, like cash cups or like certain things where it's like every Friday at 7 p.m. everybody's grinding for that one thing, and you play in the game and have these like crazy who can be at the top leaderboard. You know, those are things that I think would bring the COD community together like nothing else can. Like that's something that I think would be amazing to the game. So just wanted to add to that. I don't want to take like Diaz's.
It's that moment in time, right? It's like, were you there? Did you see it happen?
Yeah.
And again, like going back to like April Fools recently, right? It was a very small version of that, but just like, were you there on April Fools? Did you see what happened, what they did? And like, that's what kind of going back to my earlier point of like, well, what more of those kind of things can we do to really surprise our players in the future? In a way that they weren't expecting. Because if you go back and you watch, and I think this has been a real inspiration point for me, because probably about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, or actually maybe longer, it feels like it's been one long day. Like season 2 has been a lot of work for a lot of us. We're working really, really hard on Warzone right now. And I actually went back and I watched a wealth of content creator videos from really like their first moments in Warzone. Like how did people react when they dropped in? Like me as a player, I downloaded the game in March 2020, like everyone else. Like it kind of became the lockdown game, right? It was like we all went through that global pandemic together, and Warzone was like right at the core of a lot of like people's hearts, of like how it brought them together in a moment of real global adversity. And you go back and you watch the videos, and like people come across a buy station. It's like, whoa, what is this? And then like they equip a gas mask and like, wait, I can go into the gas. And then you get the moments where like that whole first season, I don't really remember people using loadouts much. Like it was something that you could do, but there wasn't really like a meta. And then over time, Warzone's just been min-maxed down to like perfection. I said it earlier, you know, we all know exactly what we need and what to get. It's like, how can we as developers just disrupt that a little bit more? And that's where I think going forward, you'll see some really interesting stuff just about how we want to play around with those tools and those toys and just rebalance the game a little bit and refine it in so that each season just has a different heartbeat and feels different.
I have a question about audio. Do you guys have plans for maybe making the audio, I guess, any better? Because, I mean, there's definitely times where, like, there's a guy that's, like, running up right next to me and I somehow just, like, don't hear him and I die. So, like, do you guys have plans for better audio? Yeah,
I think we made a pretty public commitment, actually, at the beginning of season 2 that when we showed our top 10, audio was in that top 10, right? It's something we know we can improve. We want to improve it, like, fundamentally. Again, like, when I'm playing, like, I'll have similar feedback to you guys. So I think, like, going into season 3, that's where we really plan to have a more verbal update and a verbal dialogue with you and the community just about where the audio is at. I actually have a meeting in my calendar next week to discuss and review audio. Some of the changes that we're making coming up. So yeah, again, I don't want to overpromise, like you can understand, but it's still in our top 10, still very important to us. We know we can make improvements. There were some that went into season 2.5, particularly around like the gulag and spectators and that kind of stuff. It was really good to, or hear, I should say, that was well received. But yeah, going into season 3, there's more to come for sure. Like we really want to tackle this one because we know it's important. And I think as well, the nerf to dead silence, you know, making it a lot harder to find. Yeah, I think it has helped that general sentiment because, of course, like dead silence was incredibly overpowered for something that was basically like a common loot item. And I'm really proud of the work that the game designers did, where not only did they nerf the amount of times that you get the refresh based on a kill, making it legendary loot was a really smart move. Just because, you know, footsteps are important. Like you need to hear that. That feedback, like it's one of the few things you have to know that someone's near you. And where I've really encouraged the game designers going forward is whenever we add a new mechanic or a new system, it always needs to have a counter. That should just be one of our fundamental game design rules as we continue to build on Warzone. over the rest of the chapter. So yeah, expect a lot more things just around like gameplay toys, counters to gameplay toys, interesting interactions between gameplay toys. If anyone's not familiar with like a gameplay toy, I'm talking about like a dead silence or a trophy system or a UAV, those kind of like ingredients that make the second combat and gameplay really interesting. And I hope that, yeah, as we look forward and as you see more stuff coming through, you kind of see these counterplay opportunities that you'll have where it brings out those big, like, I love it when you go on Reddit and it's like 1,000 IQ play. And you're like, oh yeah, here we go, boys, here we go. Like, get the popcorn. And like, you sit down, you watch it. And it's someone who's got like the portable decontamination station. They've got the redeploy balloon. The final circle's closed in, so they've put down in the gas. They've armored up using the portable decontamination station. And they jump in the balloon and they beam someone from like 100 meters in the air. And you're like, wow, like that couldn't have happened before season 2, right? Every single one of those ingredients was new to season 2. So how can we learn from that? How can we take that kind of energy and those kind of 1,000 IQ plays and make sure that in every season going forward, there's always those new moments that we'll see on Reddit, on Twitch, on YouTube, whatever it might be. And yeah, again, like, keep us honest, right? Like, I'm basically challenging you guys. Like, I want to see 1,000 IQ from you every single season from now on. No pressure.
Bubble shields, question mark. I'm just going to throw that out there. You know? I had a quick question. I know we're running out of time, Shanice. I'm sorry. Is about like
I'm here. I'm just waiting on you.
We can 9 more minutes, right? Let's make it a nice round out.
Let's go. I love this. Go. Okay, so I'm gonna speed up. So when I think of like key memories in my, like, looking back on certain things that happened in Warzone in the past year, 2 years and a half, there's certain things that come into mind where I'm like, you know what, this part of Warzone is when I had the most fun. This part of Warzone, what people remember it like amazing. So one of the two big things is like in-game events, but I'm not gonna say in-game events. I'm more talking about like how those in-game events affect the gameplay itself. So I'm gonna bring 2 examples. So I still don't. Nobody knows if this was intentional or not. But back in Verdansk, glitch super, where there was an insane amount of money in super. I don't know if that was glitched or not. There was like loadouts on the floor, like that. I remember everybody was going crazy. Everybody was like, didn't get off the game for literally like 12 hours, like 13 hours at a time. Everybody just playing as much as you can. Or even another example is Nakatomi. I don't even know that's how you pronounce it, but where you would have to do all these things to get a specialist, right? So something I think, first of all, let me just go ahead and throw this out there, is specialist is amazing. I love specialists, but I feel like it should be hard to get. And something like along the lines of like, imagine if there was Nakatomi all the time. Not that, right? But like, where every month, every week, whatever, the location changed where you have to do something to get specialist bonus. Kind of like how you guys did it for Rebirth, but on Caldera, where it rewards you for like having to do something like that. Like a specialist, if you do these things, and like it gives you a reward for doing all these things. And I think those type of things make the game so much more fun, in my opinion. Those are like, I remember back in the day, Verdansk, Nakatomi going with all the boys and just like having a blast, like, locking it in and then just getting specialists and then just having fun the rest of the game. And
specialist, like 100K, just buying UAVs.
Yeah, and it would make the game so much more fun, even for people who, let's say, don't play as fast as we do. Just like being rewarded, like, oh, that's something so special, right? Instead of just making it luck. So that, as far as like, and then also things like glitch super, where like I remember glitch super was amazing. So are there anything like that you're kind of like, you guys are thinking of? Those are things that I think of key memories of Warzone, and I think of those.
It goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Everything you just mentioned was a surprise. Like you didn't know about any of it until you found it and someone discovered it, and then they shared it and was like, oh my God, like you're seeing, with the showers in Rebirth, right? You go to BioEps, grab the key card, then head down to Stronghold and get the token. Like it's one of these things where specialist has become an important part of Warzone, and it's something we want to play with and experiment with, and I think you've seen that like with Rebirth Reinforced. Again, like there's some surprises coming. Season 3, there's been a real effort into just improving not just the pacing, but also the looting. Like my earlier comment around you get your Lodi, you get a gas mask, you get a self-revive, and then, get some UAVs, whatever. It's like, how can we, as developers, incentivize more looting? Like, what would keep players looting through the game? Because looting means movement. Looting means moving between POIs. Looting means just generally as a squad, like going around together. And you get that shareable aspect. I feel like with Warzone, where it's at right now, having more things that you can kind of tag for your team or ping and just say like, hey, do you guys need X or do you guys need Y? I actually almost said something there. That was close. But there's some new stuff coming that, you know, we really want to make sure that as a squad, you have those things to share and be like, hey, yeah, Lucky, do you need this? And that goes back to that looting gameplay loop. So yeah, there's some stuff coming that I'm really excited about, and I feel touches quite heavily on what you're pushing on.
I'm gonna keep it quick so D can get his out too.
Sure, yeah, please do. Yeah.
So I really like. I'm asking questions out of like a spectator and just somebody who will time to time just play the game casually instead of competitively, because you know we've been all
you don't
doing
play the game casually. Don't come on.
Well, there's sometimes, you know,
what do you do, put one hand behind your back?
Shield, Cali 6, like I if I could relapse a couple of my favorite moments, is usually those quirky moments. And I even looking back at past Call of Duties, like stuff that I think made Call of Duty was stuff like a kill cam. Like, do you guys plan on maybe even having a kill cam, like a final kill cam at the end of the matches, and maybe even proximity chat working in the sense of like, you know, when you kill somebody you could hear them, or you're able to give like another second to talk trash a little bit back between those 2 seconds when they die, stuff like that. I think they're like those quirky moments that like are funny and make COD what COD is, because COD's not like any other game, you know. It's a community that kind of makes it. So like those kill cams, those WTF moments, the proximity chats, even the game mode Infected, if we could get that back, maybe in Rebirth where it's just Infected going on, like those are stuff that I remember playing hours during the summer when I was younger, just Infected, or just getting the cool kill cams and stuff like that. Is just kind of like what I look at like as a memory in traditional COD, and it'd be nice to see it integrated into Warzone, even Rebirth. Yeah,
because I love our current exfil. You know, there's nothing else like it in the Battle Royale space where there's that level of polish and quality. And I think that's what our players expect when they think of Call of Duty. They think of that visceral, milsim, like gritty, cinematic moment, right? Where the helicopter comes flying in, you all zip up the air, like, it's amazing. There is that little window where I completely agree with you, where just having the kill cam in that space and being able to see how the final kill was achieved, like that's a story, right? That's a story that you want to share with people. But no plans right now, but I will go to production tomorrow. I'll say the Baka Brothers have said they want it. And we'll get it onto the backlog. And again, no promises, but I definitely align with your feedback, and it would be something nice for us to have. So I could, you know, at the very least, we can put it on the production backlog, and you know, if we get to it, then you can reflect on this conversation and be like, oh man, that was awesome.
Imagine Lux.
Imagine
Lux proximity chat in Gulag.
Dude, that's what dude, just imagine that. Cause like, dude, that's COD. You know, let's that's Call of Duty. A little trash talk.
I just have a fast one I saw in chat. Whenever you're sliding down a hill, your controller aim, or I think it happens on keyboard and mouse too, your aim gets stuck where you can't look down. And you know, obviously on this map there's a lot of hills and like a lot of like staircases and stuff, so do you guys have any plans for fixing that?
I'll chat to the live ops team and try and get an update for that. I think what we can do with a lot of these kind of questions where I don't have like an immediate answer, I think I can go away, work with Shanice and the team, just get some answers, and that way when we do our next set of patch notes for season 3, we can just have some of the answers in there, just to be, again, like, we want to continue this transparent discussion and dialogue with you and the community. So I'd love to come back to you and say, hey, this is what we're doing for season 3. These are the bug fixes that will happen either at launch or during the in season. And yeah, just continue to, you know, talk to you about what we're actively working on. Can I ask you a question to end?
Yeah, of course.
What was your favorite season of Warzone? What's the one that it pulls on your heartstrings?
Whatever season was during October, the first year of October, back on Verdansk, because I remember that Infected game was fun. I remember the
Halloween.
Yeah, the Halloween. Yeah, that was dude, I cried.
Yeah, it was a banger.
It was the first one, amazing.
I don't know what it might have been season 2. I don't know what season it is.
I think it was season 2.
But back when like the Growl, when the AMAX and the MP5 were meta, and that's what people were using. Like, I don't think I can remember a funner time than that. That was literally like funner, right? A more fun, right, time than that. That was genuinely like the most fun I've had, and it was just because of the guns and the way they felt, and you know, I don't know. I don't know what
I
season
love
that is.
that growl meta, man. The
Yup,
growl is
yup.
still in my loadout. My friend Rich, he still uses the growl. He even still uses like the thermal.
Hey, he
Still uses the thermal. He's got the thermal scope on them. Like, Rich, what are you doing?
He needs
Like
an
season
updated
2
class.
called, and once it's gone back. The reason I ask is, we're always looking to understand, what made any particular season either really well received or just had some sentiment around it that we could have improved. And that way, like as we look to like the future seasons, it's like, what can we learn from those moments in time, and just go, yeah, that was a real sweet spot. And we know that the weapon meta drives a huge amount of that sentiment, and that's why like season 3 shake up coming. I'm really excited about it. The weapons team have done a great job. It's feeling good. And again, like we'll continue to like iterate and balance on that. And then second question, I guess, is like, if you had a genie in the bottle wish, what would you love to see in Warzone? And maybe I've caught you out on this one. I probably should have asked this at the beginning and said answer at the end.
I love
But
this.
like, what's something where when you're playing, it could be a quality of life thing. It could just be something that eats away at you, like, oh man, there's some friction there. I wish they could just improve this particular area. Or it could just be a wholesale, like, oh, I wish they had like this feature, or just an idea for what you would love to see. And then we could end on that.
You guys want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I mean, I feel like mine would definitely just be ranked play for me. Something to grind for.
Love that about you, D. Okay, mine. I would love to see an area where the community could make like their own custom games. You know what I mean, for like Warzone and stuff like that. Because like looking back at like Michael Myers, Infected, stuff like that, where they could make it, and anyone could load up into one of those games with your friends and just have a good time.
Okay, so I'm gonna drop a bomb on you.
Okay.
If I had one wish,
Is this where I quickly leave?
no. Like this is, you don't gotta say
Ted has
anything.
left the chat.
This is my one wish, and I know a lot of people are stuck in the past with Verdunked, right? But I'm more looking towards the future of what the next Call of Duty, the next Warzone will bring, right? The next map, right? If I had one wish, it would be to grab all the best POIs from from different games and drop it into a Verdansk 2.0. I'm talking favela, I'm talking terminal, I'm talking high rise, I'm talking Afghan, all in one map, to make it a big map of nostalgia. I'm talking about Rust, it all in a huge Warzone map that people love, and modernize the map instead of where it's at with Caldera right now, with back in the day, but all these amazing maps that people know and love, and put that into one huge Warzone map that people make everything modern, right? So I'm talking like the the ACR back in the game, the UMP back in the game.
AC 130 kill streak.
Those are the things. If I had one wish, that the next Warzone would be like that. That's my wish. So you don't have to drop any hints, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Look, guys, I just love the energy you bring. Like, keep doing what you're doing, because it's a great energy that you have in Warzone. And I know I can speak for everyone at Raven and all of our partner studios that we love. What you do, what the community does. Again, like, let's keep this conversation, because I love where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I know I can speak for the team on that behalf, and please, keep the feedback coming, keep the energy, and I hope you're excited about season 3, because we've got some good stuff planned.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I was saying to Shanice, we got to get a game going at some point.
I'm down. I'm down.
I'll be honest, like, I'm probably a bot compared to
Yeah,
you
I'm trying
guys,
to
right?
spectate you. No,
If we just go in and just pretend that I'm an AI, if we just like up front, just say Ted's an AI, he's coming in as an AI, and he can just be like, you can escort me. There can be like an escort quest, like take me from A to B.
Protect the president.
We'll role play, right? Your community will love it. We'll just role play. It's protect the president, and I might get like 5 or 6 kills. I won't be on the 56. I'll just get the 5 or 6.
Break your PR.
Yes. What's your PR, Teddy?
I don't count. Like, probably like 13.
Okay, we gotta get him a 20. We gotta get him a 20.
20. Okay, I'm sold. I'm not going to get to 50. Come on, let's start small, guys.
break my PR.
20 is good. 20 is good.
13, and you're like, oh, let's get 50. Like, in fact, we're always 5.
We'll agree to this as long as you host the lobbies. Yes, sir.
Love it. Well, look, guys, it's been awesome to chat, genuinely, and again, thanks for the energy, and I'll see you guys in season 3 in not too long from now.